Welcome to another edition of the Inspired Stories podcast, where leaders share their experiences so we can learn from their successes and be inspired by how they've overcome adversity. My name is Anthony Codispoti, and today's guest is Denise Dettingmeijer. She serves as the Chief Financial Officer of Medical Solutions, a healthcare workforce partner that delivers consulting services, workforce technology, recruiting, and staffing. Founded in 2001, Medical Solutions empowers healthcare systems to optimize labor costs, improve patient care, and prepare for future workforce needs. Under Denise's leadership, the company continues positive growth, receiving industry recognition for its mission-driven workforce solutions and supportive work culture. Denise has extensive experience in financial planning and risk management, having previously served as CFO for Randstad North America. She holds an MBA in finance from the University of Connecticut and remains passionate about uplifting others through mentorship. She also advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion, encouraging women to pursue leadership roles across all industries. Her dedication to mentoring future female leaders continues to inspire many professionals. Now, before we get into all that good stuff, today's episode is brought to you by my company, Add Back Benefits Agency, where we offer very specific and unique employee benefits that are both great for your team and fiscally optimized for your bottom line. One recent client was able to add over $900 per employee per year in extra cash flow by implementing one of our innovative programs. Results vary for each company, and some organizations may not be eligible. To find out if your company qualifies, contact us today at addbackbenefits.com. All right, back to our guest today, the CFO of Medical Solutions, Denise Dettingmeijer. I appreciate you making the time to share your story today.
Yeah, Anthony, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
You know, and I should note that, folks, once you're done listening to today's episode with Denise, you should check out an earlier episode with Patty Artley, who works with Denise. She is the Chief Nursing Officer at Medical Solutions, and it was a terrific interview you should check out after this one. So let's get into this one here, Denise.
I'm ready.
You received a bachelor's and an MBA from UConn. I'm curious, was your career aspiration always to be a CFO, or did that intention develop later down the road?
Oh, and that's an easy one. It was far later down the road. So I'll explain in another segment, perhaps, my why I went right from undergraduate to grad school. Short story, I played softball, got hurt, could do another year of eligibility, didn't want to get an undergraduate degree in 5 years, so petitioned to see if I could get a master's. Back in the day, that was a big deal. Was able to go to grad school if I got in, and so I went right to MBA, played my first year, finished my second year, and then went off into the world. Had no idea what a CFO was. I applied to the School of Business thinking I would play softball my entire career. That is what I would do. Somehow I'd get paid and have a life doing it. But as a backup plan, School of Business sounded like as an 18-year-old girl, I could get a job if I had a business degree. So I applied. Wanted really to major in psychology. Human resources was a degree that I could do one less required class and get a minor. So I picked human resources. Again, so logical to be a CFO. Minored in psychology. Went to grad school after I got hurt. Did not understand finance, accounting, debits, credits, multiples of EBITDA, and thought, I need to learn that. So I took an MBA in finance and ended up learning that.
Wow.
That's how it got started.
You weren't pre-wired for this.
No.
I mean, a lot of people I interview that are on the finance side of things, they're like, oh yeah, I sort of came out of the womb just loving numbers. I made spreadsheets as a kid.
Majored in accounting. It was really, exactly. No.
You went through your undergrad and you still didn't grasp this stuff. And
I won't publicly disclose the grades I got in finance and accounting undergrad, but enough to say that was not my cup of tea.
So why then did you decide to tackle that head on as you got into your graduate program?
Because it was interesting. It was challenging. I could never understand how, honestly, a debit and a credit equaled zero. Multiples of EBITDA, like who decides what the company is worth? Wall Street, I did my thesis on it being more psychological than actually mathematical. I just couldn't comprehend the financial side of an equation, no pun intended, and found it fascinating. The puzzle of it, the story behind it. how it all works and fits together, why it's so important. And as soon as I started to understand it, I thought, oh, this is really interesting, because you see everything in a company, everything.
And so as you're taking the MBA then, and you've got this heavy focus on finance, you realize this is my path, not the psychology, not the human resources. This is more where I want to go.
Actually, I left grad school and went to the Netherlands to coach a softball team. So no.
Which is what everybody does after getting their MBA.
Exactly. So I thought, I had got called, and I thought, what other chance in life will I have to go do that? So the job I had lined up, like every good MBA student does when they graduate, I asked if I could start in September instead of June. They said no. I said I quit. They said, why do you quit? I said, because I'm going Holland to coach. They said, oh, start in September. First rule of negotiation, right? So I went to the Netherlands and coached, and then came back to my first job. So I didn't have finance experience till 6 months after an MBA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so well, let's go back. What
sounds
position?
So funny now that I'm like not 20 anymore.
Now that you're saying it out loud?
Yes.
So what position did you play?
I was a pitcher.
But when they asked you to come over to the Netherlands, were you playing or were you coaching?
So 2 years prior, I'd gone on an all-star team there. And one of the teams we played against, the coach called back to see if I would come and coach that team for the summer. So I went back as a coach to one of the clubs we played against while I was there.
So you go and you do that. You kind of scratch that itch, come back to the States. You start your first job.
I do.
And is this now kind of where you actually got your feet wet in the real world with finance? No.
Of course not. So I started as a business management advisor. It was the coolest title for a 22-year-old softball playing, MBA holding young lady. I worked with all engineers on a top secret clearance thing for the U.S. government. I had secret clearance, so when they had top secret discussions, I had to leave the room. I had no idea what they were talking about anyway, but I had to go. And my job was to take offers and proposals and financially analyze them for correctness, not technically, but soundly in the financials, what they were delivering, what it would cost, the timeline, to really, analyze proposals. And I thought, it's like doing business cases in grad school, but then in real life. And the engineers I worked with, when I would ask questions, thought I was like a genius, because they're like, how do you think of that? And I'm like, it's kind of easy, right? So the environment I was in enabled me to be, I don't want to call it a thought leader by any means, but the one who knew in the room. And I gained a lot of great camaraderie, interest, excitement, teaching others what was going on, and also confidence, because my husband often says, and I'm not trying to judge hard of seeing people, but in the land of the blind, the one-eyed is king. And that's what I was to start. So I felt very comfortable in it. Did it for 6 months, Anthony, and then I moved back to the Netherlands because I had fallen in love with who is now my husband. And I went over there to start a life with him. And so then I started my finance career.
All right. I've been on the edge of my seat. When do we get to finance? Are we there yet?
We're there.
All right.
We're there.
And so where were you? What was the role where you started in finance then? Was this in the Netherlands?
It was in the Netherlands at a company that made fork trucks, Hyster. It was a U.S. company that appreciated my English American language skills and an MBA in finance. So you get a job as a financial analyst, and that's how I started in manufacturing with spare parts as a financial analyst. And I loved it because, again, that's where you got to see all the connections, how it worked, what you purchased, what you sold, how it fit together, the productivity, the warehouse, how much inventory you had. Like, it all was bringing what you learned to life. And honestly, finance is not that hard. You just have to be super curious. You talk about connecting dots, like I talk about making a puzzle, and just knowing where the components are. You get to speak to everyone, talk to everyone, learn, advise, change. It just became amazing for me. It was just such the right role that more like a financial planning and analysis leader that I learned accounting with and through, and credit collection and all those other roles, because it touched what I did and I loved it.
Okay. So now you've really figured out that you've understood what your passion is, what you're really good at, where all these pieces sort of come together in a very functional way for you.
Yeah.
And as I look here at what was the name of that company in the
It was
Netherlands?
Heister. It was a U.S. fork truck company, Heister.
Heister. Okay. And so now I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile. I mean, you had stops at, Heister's a big company, but you had stops at a lot of other, several other big companies along the way.
I did.
Alcoa, Randstad.
Yeah.
As you sort of look forward to some of these opportunities after you left Heister, which one of those was kind of the most formidable for you?
In the long term, it was Alcoa.
Okay.
And I can say that because I learned lean there. And a lean way of thinking, a lean way of leading, a lean way of working, that is exactly what finance is. Lean process flows and the handoffs and where they touch and why they matter and where the value comes from and where there's waste. That logic and that methodology is, for my brain, exactly finance. You just put a couple numbers on top of it, and then you have the whole trajectory of your entire company. So Alcoa for me they were a lean shop. They were ERP'd incredibly well, vanilla with some changes, all of those kind of life lessons that you learn along the way came to fruition for me in those years I spent there. And it's a funny thing because it's over a 100-year-old manufacturing company. You wouldn't expect it. But the way that they operated was really inspiring. I learned Sarbanes-Oxley there. It was that time of life, right, that happened. And
real quickly, touch on what Sarbanes-Oxley is for our listeners.
Yeah, of course. So back in the day, it still exists. It's about your internal controls. So basically what Sarbanes-Oxley required was not only for auditors to say your numbers are okay, but that the processes that you use to develop them are in control. And when you think about a lean way of working with all of the process descriptions, the formulations of them, finding the control points in there. So what really matters to make sure you have segregation of duties, people who pay invoices can't change bank account numbers, for example, the way maintenance operates for safety, that all kind of accumulated together where things like controls in Sarbanes-Oxley or internal audits, things like accounting, all came together in this business process that financial planning and analysis puts on top to report, tell stories, guide, direct, grow. And for me, that all happened at that company, where right time in my life with experiences I have had, but certainly the way that they worked was priceless for me.
I want to get to Medical Solutions, but you also spent 11 years being CFO North America for Randstad, a huge company.
Yes.
What was behind the decision to leave there and come join Medical Solutions?
Yeah, that's always a tough one. So I spent a lot of years at Randstad. When I joined, I had an argument with the CEO who hired me whether I would stay for 2 or 3 years, because I thought I could get the job done in 2 and she thought it might take 3. And I'm like, well, let's take the job and see. 10 years later, I'm still doing it. It was such a dynamic company. It was acquisitions. Your portfolio changed all the time. Your title was the same, but you had an acquisition, then it went somewhere else. You got a different country. You got global. You did transformation. It was just such a great paced, moving, exciting company. That was my first experience in service. So, you don't have a product to go look at on the shop floor. How do you maneuver your way through that? And after all the time there and the impacts that we made, and hopefully that I also had there, I accelerated my advanced, I don't want to say age, but experience, and thought, is this really what I want to do forever, the rest of my working career? And I thought, maybe it's just time. There was nothing wrong.
You're just ready for a new challenge.
Yeah. And nothing was, you never finish your job. Like, I've never left a job because I was done, but the challenges were smaller. The environment you were in was very familiar, and it just didn't, make my heart beat fast. And so when I decided to leave Randstad, I then went and interviewed for a teaching role. I thought, how cool would it be to teach international business, finance, be around young or earlier, generation people that you can learn from, give back what you could. I was speaking to a university when the sponsors, the private equity firm for Medical Solutions, called. And within 10 minutes on the phone, my heart's beating faster. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so I took the opportunity, or the chance, as anyone would call it, and chose to continue the rest of my career here at Medical Solutions.
So when I first looked at Medical Solutions, I have to be honest, I think I made the mistake of putting this company into a category as a staffing company.
Of course.
But as I dug deeper, I realized that this description kind of sells you short because you offer a whole lot more.
We do.
Can you paint more of a picture of what Medical Solutions does?
Yes. So Medical Solutions does provide clinicians to hospital systems and healthcare systems. So there's nothing wrong with the staffing component of what we generate revenue upon. But the company itself is truly positioned in a consultative way to hospital systems, healthcare systems, to make them successful. And a lot of that success comes through the quality of the clinician, the cost and price of the clinician, but also the understanding of how it all works, how it fits together, how best to use your talent pools on how to gain the best outcome you can, not just for your hospital system and your clinicians, but for your patients. And so Medical Solutions is able to provide that consulting and those offerings, not only clinician or nurse staffing, not only travelers, but on an array of positions, including allied, including temp, including leadership, including virtual, direct hire. So if you're looking for somebody, we can also find you a permanent employee. We can do that with domestic clinicians, with international clinicians. It's a whole portfolio of support that can enable the success of those hospital systems. And we do it. What makes Medical Solutions special and what excited me about it is the relationships. Medical Solutions is known in the industry for the partnership with the clients, with the clinicians, bringing them forward and not only placing a clinician and moving on. So much bigger than staffing. And, the bottom line, when I worked at Ronstadt, I couldn't, just be more proud of giving people jobs and the way jobs change people's lives. And here at Medical Solutions, we do that, but we also help save lives. And that is, better than honestly making aluminum wheels or extrusion for windows. As exciting as that is, and lovely to see your product when you drive by something, it's really, really incredible.
Not only are you helping to empower the people who you've helped find employment for, but you're finding them employment in medical environments where
Correct.
there's a shortage,
Totally.
right? And there's the opportunity to help people, to heal people, to save lives every day.
Mic drop. Yes.
Oh. So what's the biggest project you've undertaken in the time that you've been at Medical Solutions so far?
There's a lot of them. Listen, you never do a project on your own, so I'm going to give credit where credit's due. But we had a portfolio before my time that included an international footprint. Medical Solutions acquired a company called Worldwide, and they have a headquarters in Manila in the Philippines. And coming in externally and seeing that and thinking, wow, we should really take advantage of our global footprint and put the jobs where they best belong and where they could work and where the best support and service could come from. So we undertook an experiment with what kind of roles can we perform out of Manila, not only the revenue generating side with international, permanent clinicians, but on more of a BPO shared service. We call them remote teammates. So just remote teammates that happen to sit in Manila instead of Omaha or Ohio.
Like more administrative kind of roles then?
It could be anything. It could be recruiting, sourcing, payroll, billing, any work that can be done remote anywhere in the world. And pre-COVID, that probably would have been a huge description and details. Post-COVID, we have 50% of our workforce that's not near an office. So if you're sitting in Florida or Ohio or Omaha or Manila, what's the difference? So that initiative and experiment turned into more of I wouldn't call it mandate, but more of a strategy on what work to put where across the company, how to do our work. On top of that, we put in lean. Again, I take some credit, but we have a lean leader who is off the charts, and just deploying that understanding of process, flow, connection, that end-to-end way of working, and people can be anywhere so long as they are working together, is still ongoing, but I'm super proud of the success that the company has had and the change that the leaders and our teammates had to go through to make it work.
Where do you see that heading? What do you think that can become?
Yeah, it's a great question. I see it as potentially even supporting our clients. So if our clients, again, we are here to help them be successful and honestly manage their costs as part of their financial success. So maybe next year we can expand that to support client needs or third party needs, or as we grow additional teammates there. So I don't think we're done, but we certainly are on our way.
I've seen that you've participated in discussions before, Denise, on the reimagination of finance functions.
Yeah.
What does that mean to reimagine finance functions? Finance has been around a long time.
Yes.
Like what kind of new things are there?
Yeah. So I used to get a little bit frustrated as people would say, like, reimagine the CFO role. They ought to be thought partners and operators. And I'm like, yeah, you can't really be a CFO if you're not. So I don't mean that, right? Back 10, 15 years ago, that was the thing. CFOs are no longer bookkeeping in the corner and flying out reports. They're, understanding business. I think the reimagined CFO role today for me is really like that growth leader, strategic leader. We don't sell. In my world, we don't recruit. I recognize the amazing work that the people who do that do, but enabling that to happen, strategically assessing, understanding all the puzzle pieces that we talked about. I can imagine a scenario where companies blend the CFO role with the COO, Chief Operating Officer role, Chief Strategic Officer role, and it becomes, could one person do all that? Time will tell with AI and, other techniques to support, but that role is so gray on the boundaries right now that I can imagine that comes together. And the knowledge of how it all connects to the numbers will always be critical. We're all playing a business game, right? You need a score at the end, and that happens to be your financials. And so how what you do touches and connects, I think the CFO reimagined will be the leader of that type of environment more than perhaps a COO or a chief strategic officer could be.
Where do you see currently that delineation between a CFO and a COO? Because I've seen I've seen several other companies where one of those roles departs for whatever reason, and the other one ends up sort of consuming it. Are they that closely related in your mind?
It depends on the definition of the COO. So very often COOs will be project leaders, lean leaders. And then I think if you're a good CFO and you understand that, you can blend into the CFO role. It's difficult for the COO to take over the CFO role because of that financial accounting control piece. So there's a little bit of a table stakes that the CFO takes. But in other companies, you'll see more and more often you see CFO/COO in many people's titles because that blend is very difficult in today's modern way of working to distinguish.
Any examples you can think of where you sort of kind of were able to merge these two roles in your role there at Medical Solutions, sort of the traditional finance with more of like an operator or strategy hat on?
Yeah, so we don't have a COO in Medical Solutions as titled. I would argue in our industry, a chief operating officer would be the expert at recruiting, the expert at credentialing, the things in the front that make the clinician viable for work. We find them, we place them, you talk with the clients. So that kind of front of house. Many CFOs in our industry who have slashed titles with COOs, they're talking about the operating side behind it. So in our world, it's called VMS reconciliations, but it's reconciling hours between what the hospital says the clinician worked and what we say. It's paying clinicians and employees, it's billing, it's credit and collections. It's really the financial operations that matter so much in this type of industry that you'll see dual titles because of that piece. And in Medical Solutions, our chief accounting officer leads the people who lead that operations.
Okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
I kind of want to come back to the softball thing because
Good.
I've found, and you're extra excited now.
My favorite topic.
I found that people who have a strong sports background, that there is, without exception, some big lessons that they take from that experience that they're able to bring into their professional life.
Yeah. Yeah.
What,
I didn't realize that until I started working, how related it is. So it is about, back in the day, they had a big commercial about the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That's real. That's real. So you know how to win. You have this innate, I'll say, need to win. You fail. You dust yourself off. You get back up. You might cry. You might, take 5 minutes to stomp around or maybe say a swear word or two, but you get back up. That, I don't know if you do that because you were playing as an athlete or if you were an athlete because you can do that. I don't know where the chicken and the egg start, but it is so applicable to business. The team is the number one thing. It's the team. When you play on a team sport and I pitched, I could not pitch without my catcher telling me what to throw. My first baseman has more outs than probably anyone on the team. I can't catch a fly ball as well as those outfielders, and my shortstop can't catch a fly ball, and they can't so everyone has a role to play. You're experts in your role, and together you are bigger than the parts. That's business. That is business. Everybody has a role to play. You have to let them play their role. You can encourage them. You can share your observations, hey, next time put your glove down. I tell a shortstop how to play short. That would be crazy. But little tips and tricks you can give to each other, but you count on your teammates to be the best that they are at the position that they play, better than anyone else, and you cannot win without them, and you can only be bigger together. That, for me, is the biggest relationship to business. I wake up every morning, maybe not 18 years old, 20 years old in my head thinking, how am I going to throw that rise ball better? And you wake up every day thinking, how can I be a better CFO, a better leader? What did I do yesterday that I could have communicated better? That constant improvement and desire to be the best you can be for your team is so applicable.
wow, right on. Though I'm extra curious, what's your fastball?
So we have all agreed back in the day never to share how fast we throw.
Why is that? Is that like an industry, like a sports?
Yes, because it was like this girls can't throw that hard kind of thing. So we kept it a mystery.
Okay.
But as soon as this is another great thing about being a pitcher. As soon as you can throw a fastball, you're not allowed to throw it anymore because it's just a straight pitch. And any great batter, the first thing I realized when I was at UConn is I'm pitching against every number 4 batter I ever met, because only number 4 batters go on to Division I, and now they're batting 9th. And you're like, they used to be a number 4 batter. You can't throw a straight pitch because they'll hit it. So as soon as you master your fastball, you got to throw a cutoff, a curve, a rise ball, something off speed, because they can hit fastballs.
Okay.
And that's a huge lesson in business too, right? Once you master something, everyone can hit it.
And so you've got to have other pitches. You got to have other tools in your tool belt.
You do. And you have to
So what was your best
constantly
secondary pitch?
That's funny you asked that. So I had a reunion about a month ago, and the team asked, the new coach asked the team what was my best pitch. And I swore they would have said it's a thing called a cutoff. It's like a drop curve. They said a rise ball. And Anthony, that was another life lesson to me, because my rise ball was so difficult to throw and I never truly mastered it. And it was always the thing that it could have been a little bit better. And to hear your teammates from a very long time ago reminisce upon the fact that what you thought was your struggle was actually your strength, I was like, wow, another lesson to apply to business.
And what is that? Maybe we're not always sort of the best judge of our skills, or
yes,
we're our own worst critic at times.
We are always our own worst critic. And if you have a team full of critics, you got to lift each other up. You got to share what they're good at, celebrate their superpowers. Nobody's good at everything. And, retrospectively, you wonder if I thought someone thought my rise ball was pretty good, would I had more confidence in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too.
There's a lot to be said for confidence and kind of getting that little momentum going
Yeah,
forward in a
a little bit
positive
of
direction.
courage to try it harder,
Yeah.
faster. So that's all part of the application I have every day here.
Now, you mentioned something interesting about there sort of being an agreement not to share the speed of your fastball because there's this whole like girls can't throw fast kind of a thing. And the professional level, you're known
Yeah,
for champion women in healthcare
yeah,
leadership. Why? And maybe can you share a personal example of overcoming a significant hurdle in your career?
yeah, I can. So this gets so I'm just gonna say my whole life, and this isn't a sob story, but as long as I can remember, I was always like different, right? So in high school, I played sports, but I was in the band, and I was kind of smart. I was in National Honor Society, and so you were not the jock, the nerd, or the band kid. You were kind of also you never really like fit, and then you go to play in college, and you're now a female Division I athlete. That's very intimidating to a lot of people. A lot of men you would like to date. That I remember one boyfriend said to me, "Okay, you're lovely and whatever," but he goes, "And I bet you could kick my butt at softball." And I said, "Yeah, I bet I could." Ended the relationship. Right. I'm like, do I have to hide what I am? So that whole not really being comfortable with who you are, being proud of what you do, but not really fitting in, I fast forward into my career. So you're a female in finance. That's odd. You're a female in manufacturing. It's kind of odd. And you're a female in finance and manufacturing, which makes you kind of really odd. And I just wanted to be known for the work I did. I didn't want to be the female. I didn't want to be the not female. I just wanted to be
You're not a woman
no,
CFO. You're a CFO.
just a CFO, right?
Yeah.
I still get that you don't look like a CFO. And depending on the tone, I go, is that because I'm a girl or because, right? So that's always been the case. And then when I was at, again, Alcoa, I was asked to join the Alcoa Women's Network. It was 23 years ago when these were first forming. Some very senior, amazing women got together and said, we need to have this affinity network. They're now EIGs and BRGs. And I said no. And that's shocking to a lot of people who know me today. But I just didn't want to be the female. I just wanted to be fine at finance, good at my job, making a difference. And it didn't matter to me what my gender was. And at the time, I had what they call today an unlikely ally. At the time was my CEO. He was male, South America. He's from Brazil. So not somebody you would imagine would 25 years ago be the promoter of me. But he called me into his office and he said, why did you say no? And I told him, it's hard enough being a female. I don't need to draw attention to it. I don't. And he gave it to me. He said to me, Denise, people are watching you like it or not. You're a role model, like it or not. You can put your head in the sand or you can help these people. You can be. And I was just like, what? The burden of recognizing that people were watching you. And it was immense. It was immense. So I decided to, fine, I'll do it. I don't know what I have to offer because I don't fit in anywhere, right? And then Anthony sprang from there. I had a little girl. She was born, and I thought, man, that girl's not going to go through what I went through. And every chance I get to speak, preach, tell people, I had a meeting on Monday with one of my vice presidents. It's okay to feel that way. It's normal. When you make this transition in your career, it happens. You just need someone to be with you.
When you say it's okay to feel that way, what do you mean? It's okay to feel.
So when you go from being an excellent doer and a rewarded,
being watched and considered a role model,
and you're a role model and people watch you and you're winning awards and now you're leading people who do that, it's very difficult to be that leader in the beginning because you're the one who used to be recognized. And now you are ensuring your team is recognized. And if you're not used to that, that's the transition she's going through. You have to just talk about it and understand it's normal. And you can make choices in your life to go back and be the doer. You don't have to be the leader. You don't have to grow a career. You can be happy where you are. Anthony, I could spend the whole hour talking about this. So every day, whether they're college students, friends of my daughter, athletes at UConn, vice presidents in Medical Solution, outside the world, anybody that I can help to share an experience, a message, a journey, a learning to make their path faster, smoother, easier, hands down, I will do it. Hands down.
Wow.
Because it's not hard. It's not easy.
So it was really that conversation with your CEO many years ago, the gentleman from Brazil, and the birth of your daughter that were sort of like these wake up moments, sort of awakened this giant within.
Huge.
How did you sort of come to terms with, because I could sort of see it in your eyes when you're talking about the weight of that realization that I'm on stage now. How did you get comfortable with that?
I don't know that you ever are. When I played sports, and I'll just use UConn as an example, we were told the ethics, the representation you make of that university, if you get caught doing something wrong, it's another way to keep us out of trouble, right? I know that. The headline's not going to say Denise did this. It's going to say a UConn softball player. And I get chills when I say that because it's the same thing right now. It's like the CFO of Medical Solutions, the North America CFO of Ronsta. Like that headline is what I want to not ever see. And so I gladly, it gets tiring, but I gladly carry the burden of aiming to never be that headline and ensuring anybody I can touch and help be great and prevent anything like that for them. Whatever the headline is, it doesn't have to be, you're arrested. It could be, I don't know, you forgot your kid at school or, whatever makes you upset that's prevented.
Mm. Say more about DEI and how that fits in with Medical Solutions' mission and how you sort of measure the effects of that.
Yes. So I think Medical Solutions is a DEIB company. So how does it fit into? It's all the clinicians that we place. DEIB is beyond, back in the day, it was gender when I first started, right? It was the women's network or not. And then it started to expand into, Black excellence or Asian communities, LGBTQ, into different areas. But diversity is also, once that's conquered, experience, culture, where you lived, how you were raised, there's just so many components to it. And in Medical Solutions, with the number of people we touch, the tens of thousands of people we touch, that diversity is innate in it. So as a company, it's just part of who we are and how we bring ourselves forward into everything we do. It's about trust and safety and ability to bring your whole self to work, whatever your work is.
It sounds like this is one of those things that's more of the right thing to do, so you do it, rather than we have a measurable outcome from it. Can I be right in that?
You are about that. I've been in companies where we started programs and we measured. We take to heart, as every company does, our employee engagement surveys. And there's a lot of questions about DEIB on those. And so those scores matter. All the scores matter, but that's where we get the true voice of our teammates. In my experience, the biggest thing you can do to evidence DEIB, like in numbers, would be, diverse slates. And I would never say hiring because you hire the best candidate, but to have a diverse slate really triggers eye-opening experiences of what diversity could bring, and generally then a very diverse workforce. We don't count those or measure those. I think a lot of programs are beyond that these days, hopefully. And it's about that feeling, that comfort, that safety that people have in our company.
Oh, that's great. Doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly. You can't not. You can't not. You have to represent
who
Denise, you represent.
Medical Solutions has gone through some really significant growth.
Yeah.
And I understand that a lot of that growth has taken place by way of acquisitions that allow you guys to broaden your reach. What are the biggest things that you're looking for when assessing a possible acquisition?
It's Such a great question. At Medical Solutions, we look at two things. We look at what we call close to core, so grow volume of what we do and what we do well. The consultative, travel nursing, um, direct hire, nursing, clinician kind of support. And we look at what we'll call adjacencies. So we're developing virtual on our own, but we'd look at tech support. We would look at other types of needs of our clients, like maybe locums, that's doctors, and other areas that could expand our portfolio to satisfy our clients even more in their portfolio of managing their whole talent system. The value of, so that's the kind of, what do you look at? The value of that, of course, is why you would do an acquisition. So what's the growth, the opportunity, the synergies on the client side? So where can we cross sell and where can we grow together? On the cost side, so do you need two CFOs, for example? And how do you eliminate a cost base? What opportunities do you have with best practice sharing, tech sharing? So you look at all of that to determine what option that you will take. The healthcare market at the moment, where we have Medical Solutions, has grown incredibly, and the whole COVID experience for healthcare was completely different than what I experienced in general staffing, which was a huge decline. The industry is difficult at the moment. The clinicians are on shortage. The hospital systems are looking to use their internal resource pools first, which we're helping with technology to help them do. Again, consultatively, not just trying to sell a staffing product. And it's a tricky environment at the moment to determine the speed of growth, where you place your bets, and how much is your bet.
What's making it so challenging?
The combination of all of that at once. So often in a market, you'll have scarcity on supply, scarcity on demand. You might have an economic condition. You might have uncertainty in some administrative ruling. You might have changes happening in your client environment. Today in healthcare, all of that's happening at once.
Yeah. It's just a tornado of things to try to consider at the same time.
Yet it's going to grow, right? People are living longer. People need healthcare. It's not a limited demand. So that timing is difficult at the moment.
So, obviously as a CFO, one of the things that you're looking at are the numbers. You're looking for cost saving opportunities. Can we cross sell to clients? Like you said, can we learn from your tech stack or just other sort of best practices? Those are some of the things that you're taking into account. In your role, are you considering it all culture fit? Is that something that you can even measure or kind of wrap your head around?
Always. There's I'll go back to my early days of the HR degree and the finance degree. So that's the financial CFO answer. The real success of an acquisition is your ability to deploy the acquisition plan, meaning the integration. And the integrations are most successful when like cultures. It's not about they have to be the same, but like culture. So if one is a partying, doesn't care about process, kind of lucky in their results, and the other one is, process focused and oriented, that blend becomes very challenging. When you've got people who believe in only the financial results and it doesn't matter how we get there and how the people feel safe or not, that blend is very difficult. So we also consider in any kind of discussion the best match for success of deploying that business case, because without it, all you did was spend money.
Is that something that's easy for you to ascertain during that sort of dating process? Or do you feel like, it feels like if I'm in a position and I want to be acquired, I'm going to kind of put on my best face that I think is going to appeal to you, right?
Yes. So, and in these days, I would expect that. But in the older days when, the money was around and the market was growing and it was all glory, many acquired targets, like the targets would say, I don't want to be acquired by you because.
Okay.
So it's a two-way dating. It's not only one way. That's, part of the magic. And the success of the acquisition is on both sides. So you're not going to end up going in on a big giant lie. What you end up, what I call, is deal fever. People get deal fever and they think, oh, we can overcome that. Oh, it's not going to be that bad. Oh, so it's more of convincing yourself that it's possible instead of truly looking at what the possibilities are.
And so how would you describe the culture there at Medical Solutions?
Yeah, so Medical Solutions, we're in a bit of a transformation of our culture. So when you are growing and you're kind of printing money and you're doing acquisitions, it's very different than when you're facing the market that we're in right now. And so in the last 18 months or so, it's been more oriented toward those processes, the very, I won't say detailed, but intentional way of working, ensuring that everything we touch and do matters. And that shift toward, people call it more performance based. I think Medical Solutions was always performance based, but it's more front of mind on how you impact not only your teammates, your clinicians, and your clients, but the scorecard at the end of the day. And so that's a little bit of a difference, but culturally, it's a very open, transparent. Again, we're putting in lean, so the person doing the job knows the job the best. You have a voice, ensuring that people feel incredibly safe and comfortable sharing their voice every time that they can or should, will continue to be our aim.
I love that. What's a personal or professional challenge, Denise, that you've had to overcome in your life? What was that? How'd you learn from it? How'd you get through it?
Yeah, there's the one that sticks with me for so long. I've got to go back to. So I got injured my junior year, and when you are, it's not about playing a sport, but when you have something in your life that is your life, if it's a person, a job, a school, a friend, a team, a sport, and it's ripped away from you in an instant because of an injury. Dare I even compare that to a death or anything that's even way more tragic? You don't know what to do. And I got hurt and was like, wow, what do I do now? I played softball since I was 16. I played it every day for hours. How do you react to that? And retrospectively, I don't think there was ever a moment where I thought, I'm decided this is what I'm going to do. But you just, again, dust off, pick up the pieces, pivot, find your way through. Sometimes, I wanted to play softball my whole life. After I got hurt, I thought I should probably make sure I get good grades too, because if I do want a job, they're probably going to notice. So you just pivot a little bit along the way, and end up with all the lessons learned and the choices you made. And honestly, what you learn is if you don't like where you are, you have to make different choices. It sounds super privileged. A lot of people don't have multiple choice, but to try to create your own options was the biggest lesson. At work too, if you don't like the job you're in, the boss you have, the company you're in, change it. If you can't change it and you tried and no one's listening and they tell you no, change where you work. It sounds so easy to do. It's not. Any crisis in your life like that is not easy, but it's a turning and a pivot point for where you head to in the future.
I'm really glad that we get a chance to talk about this, because I think it highlights something that doesn't get a lot of attention, and people who haven't gone through it underappreciate the significance of it. Your identity, a huge portion of it was wrapped up in softball.
Oh, yeah.
For some people, and this is also true for you, true for me, identity is also wrapped up in career.
Sure.
Or whatever it is. And when that part of your identity suddenly disappears,
yeah,
it's very destabilizing.
Yes.
It's very confusing about, how do I fit into this world? What am
yes.
I supposed to do with myself?
Yes.
How am I supposed to contribute? Where do I go today?
Yes.
Some things as simple as that.
Yes.
And then, it's like you've been dropped in from outer space and you need
yes.
to figure things out all over again.
Yes. And there's not a network of support for that, because everybody's position's different. How you manage and deal with that is different. What you talk about, what you look like while you're going through it. If you're dealing with heartache pain or physical pain, it's incredible. And when you're through that and out on the other side and content with where your journey has been at that moment, I have a lot of people say to me, aren't you lucky you got hurt? Because I got hurt, I got an MBA. Then I went to the Netherlands and met my husband, and now I have amazing children, right? And that injury definitely was a catalyst of change. But I stand by it's also the choices you create, the energy you have to adjust, the drive you have to pivot, everybody in support around you trying to help you find your way. I'm not sure we're all lucky when those moments happen, but when you end up on the other side of it, you're stronger for sure.
It's so hard in the moment when you're kind
Yeah.
of wallowing in what, just happened, and this loss of identity, this loss of self.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd be curious to hear your thought. The advice I would give to people is, if you can be curious in that moment,
Yeah.
and pretend that you're looking in the rearview mirror a year, 5 years, 10 years from now at this moment. What is it that you want to be grateful for?
Yeah.
What is it that this moment could have been an inflection point, a fulcrum for you, sort of, finding leverage to get into a new situation? How do you think about it?
I think you should have been around when I got hurt. So I was much more short-term focused. I wanted to play again. I knew that. People said, you'll never play again. And I'm like, I'm going to play again. So stubbornness, perhaps naivete, I don't know. I don't pick a positive word.
Those can
drive.
be great at times. Those can be a powerful combination at the right time.
I wanted to play again. I wanted to get a degree with good grades. I didn't want to get an undergraduate degree in 5 years. So could I please go get an MBA? So there were things more short-term for me that I thought, okay, this happened. Now you've got to figure out the next 2 or 3 years of how that could be to make what happened not the end of everything. Yeah. And then you grew from that. And then when I look back, I think, man, if I had thought about 5 to 10 years at that time, I don't even know what would have happened. So great advice.
Yeah. Denise, how would you characterize your superpower?
Gosh. I would say I genuinely enjoy people. As funny as that sounds to be a superpower, like I'm intrigued by how people think, why they work, how they work, why they think things are a problem, how they come up. Like I'm fully intrigued by people. And when people recognize it's genuine and you do care or are truly interested, I think that turns into the possibilities that you never imagined, because you have transparency, openness, trust, respect, pick a word, that can launch into something, again, bigger than yourselves. And I truly find people so incredibly interesting.
This is, generally more of like an HR kind of a question, but curious to get your thoughts on it, especially given what you just said there. You guys, big company, lots of employees.
Yeah.
Recruiting is a big part of what you guys do. Retaining the good folks, also a big part of your success. What are some things that in your career you've seen tried and found success with when it comes to the recruiting and the retention of good team members?
Yeah. So I'm going to say it straight up. It is tell the truth. So when you are in an interview, when I'm in an interview, you've got to tell the good, the bad, the ugly. When you think about how do I describe our company to you as a candidate, a lot of people's head goes toward the marketing story or the reality, right? There should be no difference. You might have a marketing story for where you're headed and what the joy will bring and how, but in the moment and who you are, I say full transparency. My aim is in interviews to never enable anyone who joins us to come back and say, you didn't warn me. And I mean the warn of the good and the bad. So warn you that we are a diverse company. We will embrace DEIB. We will talk about it. We will have tough conversations about it. In an interview, everyone's like, yeah. And when they come, they're like, oh, I didn't know you meant we're going to talk about that. So in the good of it and in the bad of it, we work hard at Medical Solutions. We're going through change. We're aiming to put the right jobs in the right spot across the globe. We want to be the best partners we can to our clients and to our clinicians. And that takes enormous passion and hard work and change that during an interview, everyone's like, yeah, but you have to really describe what it's like, because if I interview with somebody who says, this interview. They said, Denise, we just deployed an ERP. We have a growth plan that's working. We did a reduction in force, so we're all set to launch. And I'm like, why do you need me then? Because that just sounds really boring. And then they said, well, ERP is not really working well, and maybe the growth plan isn't succeeding in growth. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you have to get the match at the start. It may take a minute. It's sometimes difficult. There are people out there that love your company, whether you're changing and chaotic or smooth and greased and routine. There's people who love that. And once you find them, they stay because you give them what they love, what they thrive in.
I love this answer, and it's not a traditional one that I get. Tell the truth.
Yes.
Like, let them know what they're coming into, the good, the bad, the indifferent.
Yes.
And it makes a lot of sense once you say it out loud, because you want somebody coming into an environment that they're going to be comfortable with.
Yes. That they want.
You want them to be a good fit for what it is that you guys have already established in terms of culture.
Yes. And where we're headed. Like, you always have the beautiful marketing story in the vision. Every company does. But there's very many different people out there. And if you get somebody who likes routine, smooth process, doing the same thing every day, and that's not your environment, you have no luck with that.
What are you most excited about for the future of medical solutions? Where is this going?
I'm super excited about, I'm going to call it growth from the finance side, but that true partnership in healthcare to provide what the patients, the users of the healthcare systems need to live. There are the intricacies of what they do and how clinicians work, how healthcare systems manage in a business, in a non-for-profit, the complexity of what's happening in the administration with, Medicare, Medicaid, what's going to happen. It's an environment which every human needs eventually in their life, somehow, some way. That's so incredibly complex. If we in Medical Solutions can make that difference in there with the partnership and helping hospital systems and healthcare systems to be smoother, quality workforce, lower costs so that they can continue to invest in the right equipment and perhaps more clinicians to help more people. If we can be a part of that while growing our company, I think that would be thrilling. And that is our aim.
From your experience, Denise, share with the audience maybe a helpful resource, podcast, a book, a course, something that has been helpful in your personal or professional trajectory.
This is like the worst question ever.
Inspired
Stories podcast. Listen to them. True. Listen to my teammate, Patty Artley. She was amazing. I do genuinely mean that. I don't have a favorite book. That's why I get to read, listen, learn a nugget from everything that you touch. I don't have one book that back in the day you read Don't Move My Cheese or Who Moved My Cheese, and you read Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. I learned don't bake and bring baked goods to work from that book because only like moms bake and they'll see. So there's nuggets from everything you read, but there's not one that I thought this is the one. Most recently, I served on a panel, and as a gift, they gave me Dare to Lead, Brene Brown. Because they felt that I was that type of leader. It was intriguing to read a book about how people perceive you, because you can learn from that too. Right?
What did you learn about yourself reading that book? That
people perceive me in a completely different way than I perceive myself, which is critically important to know. And I don't say incredibly different. When you organize, I could never organize myself into 5 or 6 points of leadership of exactly how I lead. I have to talk and tell stories, and reading the book, I'm like, I can see why people say that. What you don't like about it, you can change. What you do like, you can embrace. I just tell people, listen to, truly, your podcast is amazing. Listen to all podcasts you can. Read the business books. Read the old ones because they're still valid, and take the nuggets from them, because I don't think, unless you write your own book, there's probably not a lot you can take to make yourself who you want to be from one book.
Fair enough. How about daily practices that are helpful to you? Something to get
Yeah.
your day started or keep you on track?
Yeah, so there's two things I do. In the start of the day, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do today, and then I never do it, like every person who works. Um, but it's about improvement to me. So I promise you, I wake up every morning thinking, how am I going to throw a better ice ball? Seriously. So how am I going to do this meeting better? That what could I do different? Have to do this today. So it's like that prep for the day to make the business better, my teammates better, clinicians and clients more successful. What are you going to do today? And at the end of the day, we have some really, as CFO, you do so many things. You have, at the end of the day, you think, here's the 10 things I didn't do, the 5 things I meant to do, oh, the 2 things I really should have done. But I sit there and I always say to myself, with everything you had going on and all the choices you had to make and everything that happened during the day, could you have done it better?
Mm.
And very often the answer is yes, but it's one thing or the thing. So that's what you take away for the next time, the next day, to continue that improvement. But if you constantly have a list of 50 things that somebody asked you to do, no is a complete sentence, by the way, and you say no to the 20 and you have to organize the rest, you're just never going to be satisfied, motivated, and you'll be exhausted. So you really need to find your one thing that you're going to change as a result of your day, that you start your day with, and then the next day, the one thing.
Do you think that mental process is more challenging as a woman and a mother, also balancing a very demanding career?
I'm going to say, of course, but I don't know what it's like to be a man and a dad, right? So I'm not judging that it's harder, but you grow up in your career always wanting to be somewhere else. So when you're at work and you're doing the best you can there, you think, oh, I'm missing this with my kids. And when you're with your kids, you're like, oh, if I could just do that one email. So you're always needing to be somewhere else. Many women ask me, do you get used to it? Many answer yes. My answer is I don't. They ask, sorry, does it get easier? My answer is no, but you do get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's difficult for anybody in a dynamic role with outside interest, be it families, parents, children. It's a work-life blend. I don't think there's a work-life balance when you're in a certain role.
I'll agree with that as a dad,
Yeah.
a husband, a guy.
Right.
Similar challenges. It's
It has to
hard
be.
because when you're in one place, your brain is sort of working in the other place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got a very patient and loving wife who recognizes that and
Yeah.
gently kind of pulls me back to where I should be at the moments I need to be there.
I love
But
that.
yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah. And Anthony, I think if you're in a family relationship, like my husband is, okay, I'm being recorded. He is amazing, but hopefully he will never listen to this. Joking aside, he's amazing. And without that, neither of us could be successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And without us stepping back when we need to, neither can they. So that partnership doesn't mean equal. It just means partnership. And who needs what in which day is critical. Yeah.
Denise, I've just got one more question for
Sure.
you, but before I ask it, I want to do two things. I'm going to invite all the listeners to go ahead and hit the follow button on your favorite podcast app. We've had a great conversation here today with Denise Dettingmeijer from Medical Solutions. I want you to continue to get more great content like this. Denise, I also want to let people know the best way either to get in touch with you or to continue to follow your story. What would that be?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. On LinkedIn, that's the easiest way to do it. I'm probably the only Denise Dettingmeijer on all of LinkedIn. I never check. Certainly the only one at Medical Solutions. So if you just link me in, tell me that you listen to the podcast, I will link you back and we can take it from there.
That's awesome. Very gracious of you. So last question for you, Denise. We've had a nice conversation here. I hope we stay in touch. A year from now, we reconnect and you're celebrating something. Really excited about that. What is that thing?
Oh, my kids got their master's degrees. It has nothing to do with work.
How many kids are getting their master's degrees
at once?
So I
have two children. They are 2 years apart. I have one who did college in 3 years, one who did an extra semester because of a study abroad. They're both headed to the Netherlands for master's degrees in August. Super proud of them. One will finish in a year, one's a 2-year program. And if they thrive they survive even there, never mind thrive, I will be celebrating.
That's
I will.
amazing. Such a selfless answer. You go right to your kids.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
Denise Dettingmeijer from Medical Solutions, I want to be the first to thank you for sharing both
It's
your
a pleasure.
time and your story with us today. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for making it so great, Anthony. I appreciate you too.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Inspired Stories podcast. Thanks for learning with us today.